Hello my Stitchlings, and welcome back for another tutorial. Today we are learning the single crochet. Grab your yarn and a hook. Now I know you already have your yarn and your hook, but you might also want to grab, I'm not going to say might, you're going to need stitch markers for this tutorial. This is a really good habit for you to get into. Doesn't matter what type of crochet you're doing, stitch markers are your friends. If you've ever tried crocheting before and you're wondered, why is this not working for me? How is my rectangle getting smaller and smaller? It's because you're missing your ending stitches, and stitch markers can help prevent that from happening. Okay, let's go ahead, get a slip knot on your hook, and chain 10. Nine, 10. Okay, here's my chain of 10. We can imagine this is a dishcloth, a scarf. You can use this basic idea for anything that you really want to make a square or rectangle out of. And now you're done with the length of what you want something. You've chained the length of it, but now you want to start working on the next row. So we are going to make our chain one chain longer than how long we want whatever we're working on. So we chained 10 because I want my square to be 10 stitches long. Now if I want my square to be 10 chains long, I'm going to chain one more. I'm going to have 11 chains so that I have a 10 stitch square, because you want a turning chain, and that turning chain is what helps you move your work up to the next row. When you are doing single crochet, that turning chain is 1, and we use more and more turning chains based on how big the stitch is. So if you're doing single crochet, you want to chain one more than the length of whatever you're working on. Now, that turning chain does not count as a stitch. Most patterns will tell you this. Some will assume that you know that. A turning chain does not count towards how many stitches you have. That's why we added another one to our chain of 10. You do not work into your turning chain either. So you are going to skip the turning chain, the chain closest to your hook, and you're going to work into the second chain from your hook. And again, we are working into that back loop of our chain. Remember, the front loop is the loop closest to you. The back loop is the loop facing away from you. We're going to skip this chain, this V here. We're working into the second chain from our hook right here. So, inserting your hook, you're going to yarn over and pull through. And you will have 2 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over again and pull through both of the loops on your hook. And that is your first single crochet. Now remember, I talked, we don't want to start dropping those end stitches, so that is when those stitch markers come into play. You're going to take your stitch marker and you're going to put it under both loops of your first stitch right here, under the front and back loop, because sometimes those ending stitches can get pulled a little tight and hide, and that's when we start to miss those. So that's your first single crochet. I can see my stitch going into this loop of my chain here, so I know this stitch is worked. I'm ready to work into the next stitch. I'm going to insert my hook, yarn over, pull through stitch so that I have 2 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over and pull through both loops. That is my second single crochet. Insert my hook, yarn over, pull through my stitch, yarn over, pull through both loops on my hook. Now go ahead and keep working, keep practicing until you have 10 single crochets. And you really, really want to get good at doing single crochet, especially if you want to start working on plushies. A lot of people think, oh, plushies are so hard to do, I couldn't learn that. Really, most plushies are 98% single crochet. They might add a couple other stitches in there, and some more specialized stitches to create things, but working in the round to make a plushie is mostly just single crochet. So you can open up a whole world to yourself by getting good at this stitch. Okay, here is where sometimes we can make a mistake too. It looks like we're out of space here, but if you see, we actually have one more part of our chain to work into. I know that this is a lot easier to see on this really thick yarn that I'm using, but depending on the yarn you use, this little guy can hide. So a way that you can combat that is going back and counting your stitches. We know that we wanted to have 10 stitches in each row. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna count up those V's. I have one here that I marked with my stitch marker, because we're awesome. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I can see, oh, I'm missing one. Even if I'm having a hard time seeing it, I know I need one more. So then I can kind of pull on that chain and see, oh, there it is, it's hiding. And you want to make sure that you're inserting into the back loop of the last chain and not into this knot here from your slip knot. That'll undo your work. So we're inserting, yarning over, pulling through, yarning over and pulling through 2 loops. So that is our first row of single crochet. Congrats, I knew you could do it. Now we want to move on to row 2. So to move on to row 2, we need that turning chain. We need our work to move up a row. Remember, with single crochet, we are going to chain how much? 1. Good job, I heard you. Just 1 for our turning chain. And then we're turning our work over. So I chained 1 and I'm flipping my work over. Now we know we don't work into this chain that is closest to our hook. That's just our turning chain. He doesn't count. He's just moving our work up. Now we're working into the second row, and this looks a little bit different than when we were working into our chain. So on top, you can see the V's of your single crochet. And on the back, you can kind of see these 2 parallel lines here. See them running next to each other? When you insert your hook, you want to insert into the space between those 2 lines. And also when you insert, you want to make sure, unless your pattern says otherwise, and I will talk about those in future videos, if it's saying to do a single crochet, you are going to work under both the front and back loops. There are patterns that will say only work in the front loop, only work in the back loop, and that pattern will specify that. If it doesn't, it is telling you to work under both the front and the back loop. So again, skipping our turning chain, inserting between those 2 parallel lines, yarning over, pulling through the stitch, You have your 2 loops on your hook just like you did before. Yarning over and pulling through both loops. Now this is the first stitch of your second row. So again, you want to mark that. Make sure you don't lose that. Inserting between those 2 lines, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both. Okay, keep practicing while I grab myself some more yarn here. Insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both loops. Okay, I have come to my last stitch, and you see how this one's a little bit more bent to the side than our other ones were? That's what happens with that end stitch, and that's why we're so glad we marked it. Now, when I was first starting to crochet, I would sometimes take this stitch marker out and then be like, oh darn, where was that exactly in there? I can't see where it was, and now I'm not sure where to insert my hook. So, if you're worried that'll happen to you, you can just work with the stitch marker in there. So you can insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over and pull through both loops. And then once your single crochet is done, then you can remove that stitch marker. So if that would make you more comfortable, go ahead and do that. Now you're moving on. I have no other stitches to work into. Oops, I just knocked my stitch marker off the table. Hold up. And it disappeared into the void. Okay, hang on. Cue the Jeopardy music. Just kidding, I think that's copyrighted, but. If we want to move on to row 3, we are going to chain 1, you got it. Turn our work. We have those parallel lines again. Skipping the chain closest to our hook. Inserting between the lines. Yarn over, pull through. Yarn over, pull through both loops. That's our first stitch of row 3, so we are going to mark it. Now marking those, using those stitch markers is gonna make it so that you're not accidentally dropping a stitch. And another good habit is to just go back, count and make sure you have 10 stitches. You can keep working these rows until you're square, or you could make this into a scarf. You can even sew rectangles shut to make them into a beanie. And again, I will show you in another tutorial how you can make single crochet into plushies by working in a circle instead of back and forth in rows. I hope this helped you. Please leave any comments or questions below if you are struggling with any part of this tutorial. I want to see you be successful, so let me know what you need. Thanks.